Good morning and welcome to another pre-market review session with the Market Trader. My name's Ray, the Market Trader. And before we get started, we need to run through our risk disclosure. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and do that. So just want to remind everyone that the content that's being published and distributed by the Market Trader is to be treated as general information only. None of the information provided by the company or contained herein is intended as investment advice or an offer to buy, sell, recommend, endorse, sponsor any security, company, or fund. We all understand that the use of this information contained herein is to be used at your own risk, and the company, its partners, representatives, agents, employees, contractors assume no responsibility or liability for any use or misuse of such information. Future trading does carry a fair amount of risk. It's not for every investor. An investor could potentially lose all or more of their initial investment capital. Only risk capital money that can be lost without jeopardizing one's financial security or lifestyle should be used for trading, and only those individuals with sufficient risk capital should consider trading. Again, nothing contained herein is a solicitation or an offer to buy, sell futures, options, or Forex, and past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. All right. So now that we've gotten through the risk disclosure, screen is black. All right, let's see if we can address that. How about now? It was, okay. Sometimes it takes a few seconds, guys, for it to load. So good now. Okay, great. Okay, thank you. All right, so now that we've gotten through the risk disclosure, guys, we're going to go ahead and turn our attention over to the news portal, okay, and see what news do we have in store today that has the potential of impacting the markets, okay? So taking a look at this, we have the trade balance coming in, or has come in, okay? Then we have the initial jobless claims, which looks like came in over estimate, and then continued jobless claims came in under, okay, forecast. And then looking at the remainder of the day here, we have at 10 a.m. we have U.S. wholesale inventories month over month. We have 30-year, information about the 30-year bond coming in at again this time 1 p.m. Okay, and then we have a couple of White House press briefings and our president speaking, which always has the potential of moving the markets here. Okay, all right. So I would say relatively light. I mean, now that most of the news events that could impact the markets has already taken place. So the remainder of the day appears to be a bit more on the light side with respect to news here. Okay, so we're going to go ahead now and turn our attention to the markets here. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Anthewell. Good morning, Faye, or Marie. Good morning, Vamonos. Good morning, Dirk. All right. Now that I've kind of greeted everyone, let's go ahead and open up the charts and let's see what we can make of the markets here. Okay, I was kind of looking at silver just prior to this session. Looks like a market that is looking maybe to turn maybe slightly bullish today. But we'll talk about that maybe a little bit more deeply a little later in the session here. Okay, so let's start off with our gold market. Okay, now that it's been open here for a little bit. Okay, I'm not getting the same kind of reaction here, at least on the bullish side in the gold as we are in silver. Okay, so let's take a look at the daily. Market seems to be somewhat a bit in the doldrums, I would say, of late. We're seeing really lack of directional movement in the market. Okay, you can see here, while we are developing what appears to be maybe a flag pattern of some sort, you see that we are getting wicks on the market on both sides of the market, right? So both sides of these candles, okay, indicating that we are in some sort of balance range, okay, in some sort of price agreement. okay, around this, 4280 down to 4200. Okay, we seem to be in some sort of price agreement. So until we break this area, right, we have to kind of focus our attention on range kind of price action, right? Range kind of price action, meaning that we have to really focus our attention on the extremes of these ranges to really participate in this market. Okay, so market again seems to be in a little bit of a range, a little bit of a consolidation pattern. Again, if we were to extend it a bit further, you can see that we appear to be creating some sort of triangle pattern here, right? Some sort of triangle pattern indicating that we are indeed in some sort of consolidation. Now, again, what is interesting is that at least for now, the top end of this pattern is not generating the reversal that we would normally expect, right? So the idea here is, as long as while we remain in this pattern here, that this area would maybe generate a little bit more in the way of, again, right? So the idea here is, the expectation is that this line that we have here on this triangle pattern, that would generate maybe something in the way of maybe a little bit of a downturn in the market. So far, it hasn't. So far, the best the bears can do is really to keep it in some sort of range here. Now, with that said, the longer we stay in this range, right? The longer we stay in this range, the more likely we are to make that move. Okay, so if we are going to continue what appears to be, again, looking just at the most recent set of candles here, we are, it appears to be in a bullish kind of trend. We just happen to be in the, okay, let's try this again. Okay. All right. So again, we're up at the upper end of this pattern. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Dirk. Thank you, Marie. So again, we are at the upper end of this pattern. The expectation is that we would get maybe a little bit more in the way of reversal, much the same way we're getting reversals every time we touch the bottom end of this pattern here. So what is that indicating? That the market may be slightly bullish. Okay. There still seems to be some upside pressure here in moving the markets. We're just not seeing the higher highs and higher lows that we've seen in the past. Okay, so looking at the 4-hour chart, we're going to go ahead and turn off our initial balance ranges here. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and turn that off, and we're going to kind of take a look here again. That pattern that we were saying on the daily is only magnified, right, on the 4-hour. I don't know about you, but this is not a kind of chart pattern, right, that leads to successful trades, right? A lot of overlapping price, lot of barcoding that's going on right now in this market. Okay, now you can see that price is above and below the VWAP and 9 EMA, again indicating to us that we are in some sort of range at the moment in this market. Okay, so again, the areas that I would maybe focus in on the 4-hour, right, would be this 4220. Okay, that does appear to be an area of support. Okay, and then right, so I'm going to go ahead and mark that area as supportive. All right, and then above me, well, I see that I have an area here around 4280. Right, 4280 appears to be an area of some resistance. Okay, so 4280 would be a resistance area. So that's kind of what I'm seeing on the 4-hour. Okay. Otherwise, we're in that range, right? 4280 on the upside, 4220, maybe as low as 4200 on the downside. Okay. Let's go ahead now and move into the 30-minute chart, and let's see what the 30-minute chart has to say. All right. The first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and open up the fixed range volume profile and take a look and see where we are, where price is in relation to yesterday's price action. All right, so we're going to go ahead and, oops, that's not where I wanted to go. Let's go ahead and start off here and drag this across to the close right about there. Okay, there it is. Okay, so you can see that price is hovering right at the edge of value here. Okay, So as long as we can stay above or near this level, there's the possibility here, and we are developing a little bit in the way of a bullish engulfing candle, right? And it's kind of giving us some indication that maybe there's higher prices in store today, right? Now we are above a very flat 9 EMA. Okay, we've been above and below it. Okay, we have a slightly sloping down VWAP. We still haven't managed to get above that. But if we do manage, right, I don't. There's a thought that there's a reason that we might be able to get back to the highs here, right? We can get back to maybe 42.70, right? Assuming that we can get above and maybe we can start seeing maybe a little bit of these indicators kind of curl up here a little bit. Okay. Looking at the DMI, well, the DMI is still under bearish control. Okay, right. So we are seeing the DMI weaken here a little bit. The positive DI really hasn't started sloping to the upside, so indicating that there's still a fair amount of momentum in this market to the downside based on the DMI. Okay, volume is coming in right to the buy side. And right now, the volume that we're getting is aligned with the price action. Okay, so let's take one peek here across the various initial balance ranges here, and let's see what the various sessions were able to do with this market. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and open up the initial balance range. We are going to go ahead and start off with the Asia. All right, so Asia, right? Asia was a bit bearish. Okay. Right? So we managed to extend the range, extend the initial balance range to the downside, okay? And price extended to the 200% extension, okay? So again, made for a very nice short trade to the downside, okay? Taking a look at the London session, okay? Looking at London, okay? We can see right? London really hasn't offered us much in the way of direction. It's been in some sort of balance range, which has been the case for this market for some time. we got a little bit of, we have a fair number of people who are still short this market. Price still remains below VWAP, but you can see here that there are buyers who are interested in this market at these levels, right? You can see that price pushed to the downside, and we created a buying wick, right? And now we're developing somewhat of a bullish candle here. So it would not be again out of the ordinary here, or it's reasonable to expect that we could potentially retest the highs of the session here. Okay, so let's take one last peek at the developing initial balance range since we are in the day session here. Okay, so we have this initial balance range. So I would say relatively normal size at the moment. Okay, so I'm gonna be looking maybe for an opportunity if price does provide it. If it does close above my 9 EMA and above my VWAP, that maybe that it does create an opportunity that would lead me back to 42.70. At which point 42.70, since we are in some sort of range price action, 42.70 could offer me some sort of resistant price to kind of keep me in some sort of range here. Okay. So that's kind of what I have for you. I would say the market, I think at least on the it's definitely in range. Okay. It's definitely a range market. And as a result, we need to continue to play the edges of the ranges to really secure solid trades here, right? 42.20 in this case would be a solid range. That's also settlement price. I think if we get a break of the initial balance range, I think we can really only reasonably expect price to return to maybe 42.70, 42.72. Okay, would not necessarily want to hold and try to see if the market can get through a level like this above. Okay, so again, neutral. I think on the shorter time frame, I think we still are seeing a little bit in the way of bearish momentum. So, but there are also other signs of maybe possibly getting some bullish price action here. Okay, on the short term. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead now and take a look at the crude oil market. Okay, the market has been kind of bearish and continues to be bearish. Okay. I had mentioned here that this might be an area where we could potentially buy Okay, but we just don't blindly buy, right? We need to see some evidence that this area is indeed going to solicit some buyers to step in, right? Right now, we're developing a rather ominous, right, bearish candle to the downside. Okay, so again, we have this level, right? We kind of this level right here, right? This is an area of support, right? If the market is going to reverse, okay, this would be a logical level for that to take place. Now, what you can see here, right? Each time it come down to this level, it's lost a little bit of vigor here, right? So in the strength, right? So we came down to this level, got a relatively nice reaction, right? Nice reaction to the upside, and then we've been meandering down, down, down ever since, right? We got back to this level, it created another reaction, but it wasn't even able to make another high here. Okay, so still very much in bearish control here. All right, so taking a look at the 44-hour chart. Okay, we're going to go ahead and turn off our initial balance ranges. Again, you can see that we're making lower lows and lower highs in this market, right? Lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. Now we're in the process of making a lower low. Now, is this going to be the swing that's going to break this range and explore lower prices, maybe as low as 56? The time will only tell. But right now, if I'm looking at this market, I'm looking at a market that looks quite bearish. All right. Let's go ahead and take a look at the 30-minute chart, and let's see where price is in relation to some of our indicators here. Okay, so you can see that price is below our VWAP, below our 9 EMA. All right, and it came up to the 9 EMA. What did it find? It found more sellers. Okay, I'm kind of curious to see where the ADR levels are. We've already exceeded to the downside. Okay, so we are in, I would say, maybe a quite maybe sustained, possibly a sustained move to the downside, because we're not seeing any sort of reaction, unlike what we got here, right? We came down to the average daily low, and we reversed, right? And we came up to the average daily high and reversed. Right now, it's not respecting it. Okay, so again, 30-minute chart is indicating more bearish. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the fixed range volume profile here, and we'll take a look here at let's see, Wednesday. So this being Thursday, let's open this up to the start of the session here. All right, so you can see with this candle, right? You can see with this candle, we are attempting to get below value, meaning that there are participants willing to pay a premium, right? Willing to pay a premium to be short this market, okay? Because if they were looking for maybe a wholesale price or a discounted price or a value price, that they would be securing that price maybe inside the value range from yesterday's range. Instead, right? Instead, they're willing to pay a premium to be a part of this market to the downside. Okay, so let's take a look at the initial balance range across the various markets. We just opened the initial balance range for the day session. We'll take a look at Asia. I think the Asia really offered us a very nice move here from 58.74 all the way down to 57.56. Very directional move here to the downside during Asia. Taking a look at the London. Okay, London doesn't seem to be but right. So again, we're just making our way outside the range here. We came back to the 9 EMA, and now looks like we are maybe picking up some momentum for maybe a further downside move. That is supported with volume. You can see here, volume is supporting that move to the downside here. Okay, you can see that volume is increasing as price is moving lower, indicating that we are very much in a bearish kind of possibly sustained move here to the downside in the crude oil market. All right. Okay. So again, headed into the session, I would say this was the buy zone. Well, we got a little bit of a pop here but not anything very sustaining. We have now sellers stepping back into this market on the open. Okay, so again, looking at the day session, you can see that the market is developing yet another bearish candle here. Okay, all right. So again, crude oil market, yeah, crude oil market remains bearish. Okay, so before I move on to the equity markets, I'm just gonna kind of put on my marketing hat here and encourage folks, if you're not already a subscriber, to subscribe. I still have a goal here of reaching 1,000 subscribers here by the end of the month. I don't know where we're hovering. I think we're in the mid 900s at the moment. But I am, my goal is to reach 1,000, right, subscribers, and I need obviously your support. I do want to thank those 900 and some odd folks who have supported me to date. Appreciate those folks. And if you do find that these sessions are supporting you in some sort of fashion, provide, all we're asking is to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, make a comment or two on the portal indicating that how these sessions are indeed supporting you and your ability to navigate the markets. All right. So with that said, we'll go ahead and move on to the equity markets. We'll start off with the equity market that everybody loves, and that is the NASDAQ. Okay. So looking at the NASDAQ, we're going to go ahead and turn off the ADR ranges here, and we're going to take a look and see what NASDAQ has to offer here. Okay, so maybe as a result of, so we had yesterday, right? So again, we have, looking at the most recent set of candles here, right? I always like looking at the most recent set of candles just to get a sense of what the general direction is, right? So the general direction is higher, I would say, but I would have to say that we are losing a little bit of momentum. Okay, now we did make an attempt to go lower. That was not necessarily, that was received well by the buyers because they came in and said, okay, if you're willing to give me, allow me to enter this market at a lower price, I'm willing to take it, right? So we have a little bit of a buying wig. Now, do the buyers have the participants to drive the price higher? Well, it appears, at least for now, they don't, right? So this 25,800 level continues to be an area of some resistance, right? So we have a market that appears to be somewhat bullish, that's losing a little bit of I guess, market momentum to the upside. So what is that kind of maybe early indications of? Well, if we can't make a new high, right? If we can't make a new high and we just continue to stay in this range, well, then they're just looking for a catalyst to drive price lower. Okay. All right. So again, daily, looking at this with a little bit more context here. You see that 25,800, okay, serving as that area of resistance. And then obviously 26,000 and 26,200 are also kind of resistance zones, okay? Taking a look at the 4-hour chart, okay? Looking at the 4-hour chart, we're going to go ahead and turn off of the initial balance range, okay? And you can see, all right, you can see here, right, right now in the 4-hour, right, you can see that we've been ranging a bit, right? So let's say 25,500 on the downside, okay? So we're going to go ahead and mark that level as maybe a supportive zone, right? So 25,000, say 500, right around this range here, right? That's supportive. We're going to go ahead and color that in green. That's appears to be a supportive area. And then above, well, there's that 24,800 that we've been talking about, right? This area right here seems to be a supportive area, right? A resistant area, sorry, right? So, and what have we been doing? We've been bouncing between those ranges, okay? So we're just going to go ahead and mark this in as red, right? So as long as we continue to remain in this range, right, then if we are inclined to, right, then we have to focus our attention on executions on these extremes, right? 25,800 would be a resistance zone that we could look for, and 25,500 on the low side, maybe as low as 25,480. Okay, somewhere in those in that range. Okay. Taking a look at the 30-minute chart. All right, 30-minute chart here. Okay, so again, market that appears to be in some sort of range. Right now, we seem to have maybe created a little bit of maybe some bullish action here of late inside a larger bearish swing. Okay, so again, this settlement price does seem to be kind of a, I don't know, maybe a visual target for maybe the market to reach maybe by the end of the session. You know, this 25,800 level seems like a visual target. That being settlement price from yesterday would be a reasonable target for maybe a bullish, this current bullish move before maybe 25,800 offering us maybe an area where price could potentially reverse. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look at the fixed range volume profile. We're going to go ahead and start off with the start of Wednesday here. All right. And we'll take a look here at the, let's see, right here. I'll drag this across to the close here. All right. So what do we find ourselves in? Well, right smack in the middle of the value range from yesterday, indicating that there is some general acceptance of price currently, right? That we really don't have any aggressive buyers or sellers currently in the markets, right? If that's still not evidence for you, then let's take a look at the volume. Look at the volume. Volume is pretty low right now. Now it is pre-market, right? So the expectation is that we would see some low volume, but there is no volume supporting any direction at this point, right? We have a very flat volume line at the moment. DMI indicator is also flattening, not really giving us, yeah, yeah, super flat, right? Not the DMI indicator also flattening, right? I mean, maybe it's coiling. Maybe this is an area where it's coiling here a little bit. We have an ADX indicator that's not showing any strength. We have a positive DI above our negative DI, but only by a hair. Okay. So maybe this 9 EMA, maybe VWAP is maybe a location, maybe it offers us maybe a swing. I do feel like before the session is out that we will come to reach maybe settlement price by the end of the session here. Okay. Let's go ahead and take a look at the initial balance ranges for these sessions here. Let's see where Asia and London were able to take these markets. So we'll start off with Asia. So Asia, again, similar to the gold market, created a nice little bearish trade to the downside here. Okay, came into an area of support. This 24,500 or 24,480, kind of that we kind of identified in the higher time frame charts. And then so a fair number of bears in the market. And then London came along, and London didn't appear to be as bearish as Asia. Okay, and they basically did the opposite of what Asia had done, right? So we broke, right? We broke to the upside. Nice level. We had a nice break of the initial balance range to the upside. We broke above the 9 EMA. We broke above the VWAP, and now we're hovering on a sloping higher 9 EMA. So the question now becomes, assuming that we can hold above VWAP and 9 EMA, well, I have to kind of err on the side of the bulls, but I'm going to temper my expectations on where this price can go. And right now, my expectations, if it's going to continue bullish, that 25,800 is probably kind of that target area, that visual target that some of these Hogue and others often talk about. Okay, all right. Let's see. Anything else I want to maybe discuss with NAS? No, NAS. So again, coming into the NAS, I would say it is in range. Maybe what appears to be to me is that we are in a maybe bullish swing of that range. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead now and take a look at the ES here. We have let's see, about 20 minutes or so remaining. So we'll take a look at the ES in a similar vein. Again, you can see again that we have a market that is at an area, right, the 6,900 level, right, that they're not necessarily giving up without a fight here. Okay, so market has been bullish of late. most recently ranging. Okay. Part of it was a result of FOMC. Now that FOMC is out the door and we've relaxed kind of interest rates here, the expectation I think everyone has is that that's going to serve as the catalyst for the market to continue higher, right? If you make money easily available to some of these folks, well, they're going to deploy it into something that could give them a return here. And usually the markets is the place that they usually go for this. And so a relaxation of interest rates should be something that causes the market to move higher. Okay, but we don't trade fundamentals, right? We trade what the market tells us. And right now, the market is still telling us bullish, but it's in range, right? We haven't the timing of that move has not taken place. Okay, all right. So let's take a look at the 4-hour. Looking at the 4-hour again, you can see that we've been in some sort of range here. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the initial balance here for a moment. Okay, so you can see this was the FOMC candle. Okay, we did manage to close below that candle, but only temporarily, right? Maybe they use that as an opportunity to add to their positions, right? To continue to drive the market higher. Okay. So this being our relatively strong bullish candle, right? The market reacted positively to us lowering interest rates, which is aligned with what we'd expect to happen here. Now the question becomes, can we get above, right? Can we get above 6,900, right? 6,900 seems to be that line in the sand, right? That is serving as some sort of resistance zone, right? The level of interest here is probably, I don't know, 68.20 on the downside. Okay, seems to be supportive, right? So I'm just kind of marking areas where I see support, where I see resistance, and we're in the middle of that range. So I'm not, personally, unless I'm a range trader, I'm not really inclined to participate in the middle of the range, right? I'm not interested in being a part of a market that's still trying to figure out exactly which direction, right? Yes, we don't fiddle in the middle, right? This is the middle of the range. We don't do executions here in the middle. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the 30-minute chart. All right, similar to what we were seeing on the NASDAQ, right? We have a market of late that is showing sign of bullish price action, right? We cannot deny that, right? We got a bullish engulfing candle. We got price to close above our 9, above our VWAP, and now we are developing yet another bullish candle just above our VWAP. Well, again, I think this settlement price here, right around what is that, 68.92? Okay, seems like a visual target to me for the ES. Okay, seems like a visual target for me before we see anything in the way of maybe a reversal in price. Okay, that is just my humble opinion. Okay, right? That seems like I think that's a reasonable thing for the market to want to retest. Okay, settlement, and then from settlement that could offer us maybe a reversal in price. Okay. All right, let's take a look at fixed range volume profile. All right, and let's take a look and see where the market is in relation to yesterday's price action here. Okay, so we'll drag this across. All right, so again, we see a market that's in range of price. Okay, so this area right here, a value area high, could offer us maybe an area of some resistance to price. Okay, it may be a little bit difficult for price to get above value from yesterday. So that's another area, maybe resistance in addition to our settlement price here. Okay. Let's see. We're going to go ahead now and take a look at the initial balance ranges across the various markets. So we'll go ahead and turn that on, and we'll open up the Asia session to start, and we'll see what Asia was able to do. And very similar to what Asia was able to do with NASDAQ, they did the same with the ES, right? Very bearish move to the downside until it found support here at 68.20. Once we reached 68.20, buyers kind of stepped into the market, and on the open of London and the close of Asia, we lost some of our sellers, and in stepped in our buyers, right? Sellers in Asia, buyers in London. And right now we're seeing some buying. Now, not not anything to really write home about, right? Because we're not seeing necessarily the volume, right, that we would expect to see with a move like this, right? Very light volume, and when there's light volume, generally market tends to want to move higher. Okay, all right. DMI indicator really not also kind of coiling here, really not giving us an indication. We're seeing some sort of weakness on the buy side, maybe a little bit of a spike in interest on the sell side, but not something, momentum. There's really no momentum, is what I'm trying to say, behind this move here. Okay, all right. So as we enter the market, I would say that I think on the short term, I would say that there is an opportunity for maybe a bullish move. Okay, I'm going to kind of temper my expectations on whether the market can get above 6,900. 6,900 could be an area where I maybe focus my attention on looking at maybe another reversal in price, because this is the first time it would retest that area. So that might be an area of interest for me to maybe look for a reversal in price. Okay, let's go ahead now and take a look at the Dow, and if with time permitting, maybe take a look at the silver, because silver is definitely more of a mover of late than the gold. So I'd like to take a peek at that, because that is a market that I'm spending a little bit more time looking at of late, since gold seems to be in some sort of larger range pattern here. Okay. All right, let's take a look at the daily in the Dow, and you can see the daily in the Dow, and you can see a market that I would say maybe even showing a little bit more strength than maybe the other two markets. You do see a little bit in the way of overlapping candles. We closed rather bullish. We have managed to close above, okay, a range here. And now we opened the candle. We maybe retested maybe 50% of the prior candle. And what did we find? Well, we found more buyers. Okay. We have a buying wick in play here. Looking at the 4-hour chart, kind of zooming in on these candles here. Okay. Again, what do we see of late? Okay. What we're seeing is bullish price action, right? That's what we're seeing of late, right? Do we have something to the left that could potentially block this? Well, we've already exceeded it. We've retested and we closed above it. We retraced back to a known area, and now it looks like we are maybe building up some steam, building up some momentum for price to head higher. Okay, looking at the 30-minute chart. Okay, again, I'm going to go ahead and compare my fixed range volume profile here and see where price is in relation to yesterday's price action. All right, so here we are. We're going to go ahead and take a look at this over here and drag this across to the close. Okay, so where are we? Well, we're above value, right? Meaning that people are willing to pay a premium to be a part of this market above, right? We're above it, right? So, so again, there's a fair amount of premium, a fair amount of interest of participants above, right? And we've already reached the settlement price. This is kind of what I'm expecting to see in the ES and the NAS, right? That price is going to gravitate toward the settlement price. Now, we are at a level in the Dow where we could rotate back through the range. Okay, we've reached some of these levels at what, 48,160, 48,000, not quite to 48,200, but this area above me, okay, this area above me could serve as an area of some sort of resistance to price, right? And we're seeing some evidence of that, right? I'm just going to go ahead and mark this level as so. So the Dow for me is a little bit further along on the bullish side than either the ES or the NASDAQ. So the Dow is kind of serving maybe as a little bit of as a leader at the moment. Okay, as funny as that may sound. Okay, it's so in any case, as I head into the session, and I'll take a quick look here at the various initial balance ranges that we care about. We'll start off with Asia, all right, and see what Asia was able to do with this market. Well, Asia did the same thing as the other equities, right? Sold off, got to an area where we found some buyers, and then London offered maybe some interest to the long side, right? Here we are. We've been long ever since the start of London, right? and we're well above the 9 and the VWAP. So of the three equity markets, okay, the Dow seems to be the strongest of the three. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and take a look at silver. I've been looking at silver of late here. Okay. So let's go ahead and remove some of our drawings. Let's take a look at the daily. Okay. So here we are. We got a gap open. Okay. Gap open to the upside. Okay. Okay, so gap open. So that's obviously bullish, right? 4 hour, oops, that's the 3 hour, not the 4 hour. One less hour. Okay. 4 hour also indicating, right? Also indicating something in the way of bullish price action, right? We're making higher highs and higher lows, right? And we're developing yet another bullish candle to the upside. All right. It looks like maybe the market is wanting to head higher. Taking a look at the 30-minute chart. All right, 30-minute chart. Again, we're going to open up our fixed range volume profile. We're going to look at maybe some initial balance ranges and see. Okay, so let's start off with the fixed range volume profile and take a look at see what this market has offered us here. So we're going to go ahead and start with, let's see, the open of the U.S. session here. We'll drag that across to the close of the U.S. session here. Okay. So what do we see? Well, you see a market, right, that seems quite bullish, right? We see a market that's above value, right? We see a market that's showing, giving us indications that it wants to move higher. Okay. Taking a look at the initial balance ranges, we'll start off with the Asia market. Okay. Asia was I guess relatively neutral. It did poke its head above and below, so it kind of giving us an indication that it's in some sort of range. Really not giving us much in the way of direction. And then London, taking a look at London here really quick. London is probably a little bit more on the bullish side, right? So we got up through, we came back, retested the lows, and now we are creating a series of bullish candles to the upside. Where can this go? Well, we're in uncharted territory, right? I don't believe we have anything to the left of us. Looking to the left, right? I can go back weeks, right? Months maybe, okay? And there's nothing to the left of us here, okay? So we're in price discovery, right? And we continue to show it, right? This is kind of, if this is not bullish, guys, I don't know how to define bullish, okay? It is exponentially moving higher. Okay. All right. All right. I think, guys, with that, I think we'll look to wrap up here. So as I mentioned, I think in the gold, probably not showing us the same kind of, but certainly I would say remains bullish. I think. Let's see. I'm just gonna confirm here. Yeah, bullish, right? Bullish on the gold. Bearish on the crude. Okay. And across the equities, I would say range to bullish. Okay. Is kind of what I'm looking at. I think we have a reasonable chance of getting to settlement. Dow has already reached this level. Okay. So the question now becomes, if Dow kind of rotates, will the other equities follow? I think that's the only question that remains for me. Okay. So with that, guys, again, my like indicator is a little bit under, but that could be because some folks have already exited the building. If you haven't hit the like button, please do so. And we'll go ahead. If there's no questions, we'll close the session as we close all sessions. Trade well, trade safe, trade like a pro, be a market trader. You're welcome, Marie. You're welcome, Dirk. Okay. You're welcome, Carton. Is that right? I can't make out that name. In any case, thank you, everyone. All right. Trade well, trade safe, trade like a pro, be a market trader. All right. Thank you, everyone, and thank you for your support.